Are you doing business in Washington State? You might be overpaying B&O Tax. Or you may not know you need to pay it at all. Today we're unpacking B&O Tax to address your burning questions. So what is B&O Tax? B&O stands for Business and Occupation Tax. It's a gross receipts tax based on your business revenue in Washington State. Let's dive into who needs to pay this tax. If your business has Nexus in Washington, you owe B&O Tax. Nexus means you have a physical presence or meet certain sales thresholds. For physical Nexus, if you have an office or employees here, you owe it. Economic Nexus applies if you exceed $100,000 in annual sales or have over 200 transactions with Washington customers. This applies even for online businesses. Consider Sarah's online boutique. She lives in Oregon but sold $150,000 to Washington customers last year. She owes B&O Tax due to Economic Nexus. Now let's look at Mike's Consulting. He's based in California but travels to Seattle for client meetings. He brings in $75,000 from Washington. He owes B&O Tax because of his physical presence. Digital Dave? He sells digital downloads from Florida with $95,000 in Washington sales. He has 150 transactions but doesn't owe B&O Tax as he is under the threshold. Next, let's discuss B&O tax rates. Washington has multiple rates based on business type. Retail businesses pay 0.471%. Wholesalers pay 0.484%. Service businesses range from 1.5% to 1.75%. For example, if a retailer has $500,000 in annual revenue, their B&O tax would be $2,355. A service business with the same revenue but a 1.5% rate would owe $7,500. Services taxed at the 1.5% rate include accountants, lawyers, and engineers. Medical services often fall under exemptions. A marketing agency like Jennifer's, bringing in $360,000 annually, would owe $5,400 in B&O tax, which is $450 each month. Now let's clarify labor taxation. Retail labor for construction is bundled with materials, making it taxable. However, service labor is treated differently. If Tom's Construction invoices $50,000 for a kitchen remodel, he cannot only tax materials. The entire amount is subject to B&O tax. How do you file and pay B&O tax? Your filing frequency is based on estimated annual tax. Under $150 a year requires annual filing. From $150 to $4,800 requires quarterly filing. Over $4,800 requires monthly filing. To file first, register at dorwa.gov and obtain a UBI number. Set up an online account and file your combined excise tax return. Be mindful of due dates. Monthly is the 25th, quarterly is the last day after the quarter, and the annual is January 31st. Late penalties can add up quickly, starting at 5% for slightly late filings. What about passing B&O tax to customers? Legally, there's no prohibition, but it depends on market forces. You can include it in your price or list it as a separate charge. Some industries, such as retailers, often build the cost into pricing. Others, like consultants, may list it separately. Now let's look at B&O tax exemptions and deductions. Startups benefit from a small business credit on the first $2,500 of B&O tax. You must apply for it on your return. Interstate commerce deductions apply to products or services delivered outside of Washington. There are also credits for multiple activities to prevent double taxation. Let's take an example company, Pacific Northwest Solutions. Their revenue consists of retail, wholesale, and consulting services. Each generates different tax liabilities. If they total $4,147 in B&O tax but qualify for a $2,500 small business credit, their final liability is $1,747. How does B&O tax compare to other states? Washington is unique. Only 4 states have gross receipts taxes. Most states have a corporate income tax based on profit. If your business does not generate profit, you may still owe B&O tax. This can be more costly than profits-based taxes. How does temporary presence create Nexus? A single day of physical presence can establish Nexus. For example, a vendor at a trade show in Seattle might owe B&O Tax. Remote workers can also create Nexus. If you have just one employee in Washington, your business might owe B&O Tax. Insurance businesses have unique B&O Tax rules. They pay taxes on commissions, not premiums. The insurance tax is separate from the B&O tax structure. Finally, let's talk about avoiding audits. Common triggers include inconsistent reporting and late filings. Be diligent with records and ensure compliance to avoid issues. If you operate in multiple states, it gets complicated. Washington taxes all revenue sourced in the state without apportionment. Technology companies must classify digital products accurately. SaaS subscriptions receive special consideration. In special industries like cannabis, you'll face significant B&O tax rates on retail sales. As we approach year-end, it's crucial to plan. Consider strategies like deferring revenue and accelerating deductions. Avoid costly mistakes such as assuming BR&GT, kitchen renovation, $50,000, materials, $20,000, labor, $30,000. Can Tom only pay B&O on materials? No. The total $50,000 is subject to retail B&O tax. Tax due, $235.50. Scene, filing and payment. Chapter 5, How to file and pay B&O tax. Scene, filing frequency chart. Your filing frequency depends on your estimated annual tax. Under $150 a year. File annually. $150, $4,800 year. File quarterly. Over $4,800 year. File monthly. Scene, Washington. My DOR website. Step-by-step filing process. 1. Register at DOR.gov. 2. Obtain your UBI number. 3. Create an online account. 4. Submit combined excise tax return. This includes B&O tax, sales tax, use tax, other state taxes. Scene, due dates calendar. Due dates, monthly, 25th of the following month. Quarterly, last day of the month after the quarter. Annual, January 31st. Scene, late payment penalties. Penalties for late filing include 5% if 130 days late, 15% if 31 to 60 days late, 25% if over 60 days late, plus 1% monthly interest. Scene, passing tax to customers. Chapter 6, Can you pass B&O tax to customers? The million-dollar query with a complex answer. Scene, legal versus practical. Legally, no law forbids passing it on. Practically, market conditions dictate. Unlike sales tax, B&O tax is assessed on gross revenue, not sales. Scene, invoice examples. Option 1, included in price. Service fee, $1,000, covers all taxes. Option 2, itemized line service fee, $985. B&O tax charge, $15. Total, $1,000. Option 3, surcharge for service fee. Service fee, $1,000. Washington business tax. Surcharge, 1.5%. Total, $1,015. Scene, industry practices. Common industry methods. Contractors generally include in their bids. Consultants typically show as separate line items. Retailers always integrate pricing. Freight companies often add a surcharge. Scene, exemptions and deductions. Chapter 7, B&O tax exemptions and deductions. Not everything incurs tax. Here are key exemptions. Scene, small business credit. Small business credit. First, $2,500 of annual B&O tax. Phases out between $2,500, $7,500. Must be applied for on the return. Significant benefit for startups. Example: revenue, $500,000 in retail. B&O Tax, $2,355. Credit, $2,355. Amount due, $0. Scene: interstate commerce. Interstate commerce. Deduction: products sent out of state. Services provided outside the state. Must adhere to specific regulations. Scene: multiple activities credit. Multiple activities. Tax credit, MATC. Same income taxed under various classifications. Credit prevents double taxation. Common for manufacturers who also retail. Scene: real calculation example. Chapter 8. Determining your B&O tax. Let's conduct a full calculation. Scene: multi-business example. Example business: Pacific Northwest Solutions. Retail sales, $300,000. Wholesale sales, $200,000. Consulting revenue, $150,000. Sales outside Washington, $100,000. Step 1. Classify income. Retail, $300,000 x 0.471%, 1,413 tons. Wholesale, $200,000, 0.484%, goes $968. Service, $150,000, around 1.5%, 2,250. Step 2. Apply deductions. Interstate commerce, $100,000 from wholesale. Adjusted wholesale, $100,000, 0.484%, 484. Step 3. Compute total, $1,413 plus $484, lies $2,250. Equals $4,147. Step 4. Apply credits. Small business credit, $2,500. Final B&O tax, $1,647. Scene: comparison with other states. Chapter 9. B&O tax versus other states. Washington is distinctive. Only 4 states impose gross receipts taxes, as seen, state comparison chart. Washington, B&O tax, 0.471%, 1.75%. Ohio, commercial activity tax, 0.26%. Nevada, commerce tax, varies. Delaware, gross receipts tax, 0.1%, 0.75%. Texas has a margin tax, different structure. Most states impose corporate income tax on profit.